There is a lot of speculation going on right now in reserve list cards. Players believing we are at the bottom for these cards are starting to dive in and try to find value and speculate on which cards they think are going to go up next. Hey, Wizards of the Coast. You know those old players, the nostalgic ones that you don't pay attention to anymore and don't care what they do? Well, they're spending money, but they're not spending it on your products. They're buying products you used to make. Reserve list cards. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me on my channel today. Before we get started in today's video, if you enjoyed today's content, like and subscribe to the channel. Help me get closer to 20,000 subscribers. Appreciate everyone who takes the time and enjoys the content today. And of course, leave some comments in the comment section. So, reserve list cards. Guys, I've been at this channel for a while, a couple of years now. And of course, I focus on a lot of reserve list cards. I love seeing sales data and information. And I had to cut this video short because, as you guys know right now, if you're on my channel for a while, I'm on vacation right now. I'm taking an extra day off for me and Mrs. Mox's anniversary. But when I did the sales this week, from the 9th to the 15th, I had to shave off a day just to kind of get the content together. Guys, the sales are still really high, and I wonder where they're headed. The overall sales volumes are rising. Week over week, we're seeing increased sales. And yes, Fast Bond is on the list again, and I don't know why. Where it places in the top 10, that will be interesting, but this is what's going on. These are facts. The sales data is out there and you can look at it. You can see the sales and say, what's going on there? Wizards of the Coast has ignored a group of players. Players who feel they are being underappreciated, not being valued for the hard-earned money that they spend on this game, and we're talking about the reprint side of this market. The way that Wizards is affecting the market is turning players away from sealed product, from even reprint targets that used to have value, and these players, the nostalgic old school players who just love playing the game and at this age can afford to buy a lot of cards if they choose to, are choosing to buy reserve list stuff that may go up one day. They may speculate. They may just kind of be manipulating the market to see what happens. It's easy to do when it's unregulated like we see right now. Don't have any illusions that it doesn't happen, because it does. I've proved it here on the channel time and again. Go back and watch my Soldevi excavation videos and you'll see how easy it can be done with just a few $1,000s and the will to succeed. Now, this video, of course, is a top 10 video. We are going through the hottest selling cards in Magic from number 10 to number 1 this week, and you'll be surprised like I was at some of the cards that made the list. Cards I didn't expect to see. Now, if my voice is thrown off a bit in this video, it's because I'm doing back-to-back videos before I leave on the vacation here on Friday night. I'm getting as much as I can before I go driving in the car, so I apologize ahead of time in case my voice cracks or breaks or something seems a little bit out of place, like the editing's not perfect. And of course, if you're buying anything on TCG Player, please consider using my affiliate link. It's found in the description of my videos. You just click the TCG link. It takes you to TCG Player for your shopping experience. But we get a kickback here on the channel of 3.5%, which I use to buy cards for the channel, for the giveaways, for the prizes, like the 20K party. That extra income allows me to buy some of these cards and mitigate the cost of it all coming out of my own pocket. And I appreciate everyone who takes the time to do so. And of course, when we get close to that 19K, we're almost there, less than 200 to go. When we hit 19K, somewhere really soon after that, I will put out a video explaining the rules of the 20K party for everyone to enjoy, okay? Looking forward to it. Now, let's take a look at this again. We're going from number 10 to number 1. We know the market has been ignoring a player base. They don't do vintage masters. They don't do legacy masters. And because they haven't come up with products geared to that older audience that has a larger pocketbook, I guess you'd say, they are leaving money on the table, and it's their fault. They keep jacking up other things where newer players need cheaper cards. Older players could afford more expensive cards by creating a more expensive format to let those players, delve into their money book if they will. I'm not saying they should do it. I'm saying they absolutely should do it. It doesn't matter if you like the prices or not. If Wizards is after money, this is an open pocketbook waiting to be exploited, because I've talked about it for years, and I'd be one of those players probably buying into it just because I'd like to play with my old cards my Moxes and my Time Walk and Time Twister, and not have them banned in every format. I'd love a format that was revitalized with new cards. And because they haven't done it, they're just doing themselves a disservice. All right, guys, let's take a look at this top 10. Let's see what we're talking about. And of course, I'll see you guys soon. Looking forward to those comments. Let's get this party started. Starting out at number 10 this week from Tempest is Alurin. 37 sales September 9th to the 15th of 2023. The average price tag is $48.93 US. The market price, $46.29 US. €44.61 to get this card into your house. And here in Canada, you're looking at around $75. This is an enchantment that is 2 green, 2 generic, that says any player may play a creature card with a total casting cost of 3 or less whenever he or she could play an instant without paying its mana cost. Now, please take into consideration, guys, when you're looking at cards like this, the value of the casting cost is expensive, but with the way they've created creatures nowadays, they are so much faster and more powerful than any of the old stuff used to be, that this card can literally be a breaking point when you can just keep putting out creatures all the time and you've engineered your deck to work around cards like this. It's an amazing card at a really reasonable price point, but better yet, it's still going to fall in price. Keep that in mind. This card has lots of copies out there, even though Tempest is an older set. Players aren't buying into it right now. They don't see a reason to. And other players are taking advantage of sales like this and picking them up while they're cheap, consolidating a small position. Now, number 9 this week is Null Rod from Weatherlight. We've mentioned this numerous times. It has 38 sales this week. With an average price tag of $84.95 US, the market price of $74.22, and it's €53.15 to get this card into your house, $105 here in Canada. But what's actually happening in the market and what players aren't seeing is when you're looking at a card like this, it's a 2 casting cost generic. Players cannot play any artifact abilities requiring an activation cost. That's an amazing card, amazing ability. But what's happening is players are buying the moderate played copies and even heavily played as well as light played. They're buying copies to play with and also for speculation, because the easiest ones to sell are the roughest shape when players just want to play with a card. Having cards like this gain in value over time is much easier when it's a worse condition one that breaks the margin bank of what you expect it. I don't want to pay $190 or $250 for a near mint, but I'll pay $110 or $120, $130 for a heavily played. It's easier to move a product when the price point is lower and when you get a better deal on it. So the prices you guys are seeing on the screen are for a near mint, but imagine only paying $40 or $35 to get a heavily played and still cashing in $110 when the time comes. Number 8 this week is, of course, Soldevi Excavation. This is a card of the channel, and if you like the tinfoil hat army here, then you got to make sure you buy at least 1 copy. This card is from Alliances. Soldevi Excavations is one of my favorite cards to play with 40 sales this week. An average price tag of $18.78 US. Market price is $19.22 US. €11.20 to get this card into your house, $25 here in Canada for a near mint. Now, the funny thing about this card is if you look on things like, I'd say, eBay and stuff, they're still overpricing this card drastically. This card right now probably will fall to around the $10 to $12 mark within the next year because of the low volume of sales happening and because the card has spiked up continually from players on this channel as well as people like myself buying this card out as a way of checking to see how market manipulation affects the channel. Now, I do love this card and own a lot of copies, but that by no means, with hundreds of thousands of cards like this in existence, it takes a lot more than that to dent this market permanently. But the effect we had shows it could take months and months just for this card to find new copies and for people to check the bulk bins. So allow this card to fall. If you need to get a copy, enjoy it because it is a decent card to play with. Now, the number 7 card this week is Femorph Enchantress, and of course, we all know with the Enduring Enchantments deck from Commander Masters, this card has seen continual sales ever since, and 41 sales this week, and of course, the average price of $29.99 US. The market price is $25.73, €13.82 to get this card into your house. Here in Canada, you're looking around $35 Canadian, and of course, it is 1 white, 1 green for a 1/2 summon Enchantress. Whenever an enchantment is put into any graveyard from play, draw a card. That's your opponent's too. It's a kind of awesome card. Now, the number 6 card this week is Brain Geyser with 48 sales this week. And this card is one I didn't actually expect to see on the list, but it looks like people are taking advantage of those $7, $8 copies for moderately played, as well as some near mint copies going for around $14. The average price is $15.27 US. The market price is $14.76 US. €13.30 to get this card into your house. Now, if you have the funds available, I recommend going for an unlimited, and even more funds, go for a beta. Just the style factor is crazy, but be aware that the prices of those cards has not fallen as much as it should have based on what we've seen with the revised copies. So you can expect a lot more price resistance on that particular card, and you're going to look at a lot higher price tag, but the overall value and rarity is so much greater on a card like that, and the iconic artwork that we've seen for this thing is just epic. I love this card. I've used it in every blue deck since basically I started playing. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 5 this week, and it is Fork Revised Edition with 49 sales. You can see how close a lot of these sales are, guys. It just shows an overall interest in everything reserve list still, because reserve list is the only basin of strength we still have left for a lot of players who believe in anything in Magic, and they're seeking these cards out. That and the players that Wizards has ignored. Now, the average price tag, $39.99 US. The market price is $38.56 US. €19.22 to get this card into your house. And of course, 49 sales is a very respectable sales number for a week for a revised copy card. And this card has bottomed out from the highs of 150 all the way down to 100, all the way down to 75, and continues to fall. This card will still fall further. There's no rush to buy it. And of course, players who are buying are going from everything under the sun, from heavily played to damaged to near mint to light played. Everything for every player who's looking. Now, number 4 this week, Volroth Stronghold hangs in there with 54 sales this week. An average price tag of $80 US, the market price of $81.25, and €53.95 to get this card in your house, $100 here in Canada. This card is kind of leveled out. It is seeing some play and interest from players in Commander, as well as a few vintage legacy things my friends are doing. I've seen fun decks that I can only assume other players might be doing out there that explain some of the sales volumes we're seeing. It is a very fun card to have around and can pull a lot of shenanigans because it can take a creature card from your graveyard and put it on top of your library for just 1 black, 1 generic, and tapping the land. It's like always bringing your creatures back, but not having to pay the heavy price of using up just dedicated space in your deck, right? No instants, no sorceries. You know I can do it every turn. Yeah, your opponent's aware of it too, and they have to plan for that. A great card. Now, number 4 this week is Thrall Champion. Out of the blue, 59 sales this week, and it has something probably to do with the price tag. A whole bunch of copies sold for the $1, $2 mark, and I know from local stores that had them in a bulk bin that like 20 copies sold. I haven't confirmed it though, so I couldn't put it on the list. So instead of being at like 79, it's at 59 this week. The average price is $3.30 US. The market price $3.34. €2.84 to get this card into your house, about $5 here in Canada. This card continues to fall and lose interest as players have ignored it largely because it's from Fallen Empires. They're not taking into account what the card can actually do for them, and the higher price point of casting this card draws a lot of players away from it for a 2/2. Even if it gets its +1/+1, it's still only a 3/3. So let's go ahead and take a look at the number 2 card this week, and that is Escaped Shapeshifter. Now, this was from my live stream where we bought out 83 copies last week with an average price tag of 35 cents. So let's see what our 35 cents bought us. It's a 3/4 creature for 2 blue, 3 generic, summon Shapeshifter. As long as your opponent controls any creatures with flying, Escape Shapeshifter has flying. The same is true for First Strike, Trample, and protection from every color. So of course, in Sliver decks, this works very well. Okay, great to have this kind of thing to face off against an opponent's deck. If you know they're playing a Sliver deck, being able to get those added abilities is kind of a nice thing, guys. I love cards like this. They can be so much fun to play with, and you can do some great shenanigans because it is as long as your opponent controls any creature. So playing against a Sliver deck and having your Sliver guy get bigger is kind of fun. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the number 1 card, and it's Fastbond from Revised Edition, taking the number 1 spot for 2 weeks in a row with 145 sales last week. Now, this card has a lot of speculation swirling around it being unbanned at some point in Commander. And although there is the possibility of any card being unbanned, this card in particular has a lot of players thinking that the potential upswing for this card is a lot greater. And you'll see the sales volumes are becoming so apparent in Revised that it's causing an upswing in the price. This card rose in price last week by like a good margin. You can see there it's almost at $25. So it's $24.17 is the average. The market is $18.64, and that's kind of where it was last week. And then you can see it's €15.20 to get this card your house, about $24 in Canada for a near mint copy. But players are just buying whatever they can afford, including collector edition ones. So that tells you where your top 10 is. This was the Yellow Brick Road from number 10 to number 1. Now, I don't know what to tell you guys. I look at Fastball, I'm kind of cracking up. I'm not buying any copies. I have what I have. I might buy one or two more if they were the right price just to have a few extra, but it's interesting to see what players believe, what they think can happen. And the thing is, they're not wrong. Market manipulation is so rampant in this game. Control of large positions of cards doled out and sold back to the player base happens all the time. That a card like this being unbanned is not out of the realm of possibility. Don't ever say that, because you don't know. It happens all the time. People who bought Time Vault for $5 because it was banned, and then it became unbanned and went back up to like $80-$90 back in the day. Somebody made a lot of money, right? This happens all the time. And there are numerous examples. Go hunt them down. You'll be really surprised how often it is. So before you always sell your cards, especially if it's a reserve list, you're probably better to hold the line and stick it out. Thanks again for hanging out. Thanks for being here on the channel. If you're at the end of the video right now, that's awesome. Put a boomstick in the comment section. I'm probably enjoying a water park right now, having a good time with the family, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for another video. Have an awesome day. And yeah, there won't be any comments for me probably in the comment section because I'm with the family, so you have to forgive me. I'll see you guys soon. And of course, a big shout out and thank you to the fantastic patrons of the channel, the supporters who are here day in, day out, allowing for daily uploaded content to be created because of their generous donations to the channel. Thanks again, everyone. Looking forward to seeing you at the 20K party. I'm not supposed to be here today.